y'all. This is Moni.
And this is Kat.
Hey, Kat.
And
this is the Fake Ass Book Club. Wait, can we both say it or no?
All right, guys, welcome back to the Fake Ass Book Club. This is your girl, Moni.
And this is Kat.
What up, Kat?
Oh, you know.
Oh my gosh, we are on location today. I feel pretty special. This is a treat, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, we're not in our closets. We're not bogged down by...
It's a FAB field trip.
Yes, it is. I'm super excited to be here today, you guys.
Me too.
So actually, this week we are doing sort of a fake ass episode because there's no book. You know, we're reading the books of life today. We have a special guest in the building. We have Hannah Rhane, who is a local artist, and we'll hear from her in just a second. But before we do that, I feel like we should dedicate the show, friend. What you think?
Heartily agree.
All right. So, guys, hands over your hearts. We always want to thank our listeners. Thank you guys so much for tuning in every week. We appreciate you. Thank you very much. Also, I want to dedicate this to the artists out there. Each and every one of you adding love and light to the world and spilling your heart out. That's not always easy, you know, like presenting the world with your innermost thoughts and your feelings and all that kind of stuff. So shout out to you guys for making life beautiful and interesting. What about you, friends?
I want to yes and your dedication. And I also want to give my dedication to Marcel. I'm not going to put his whole legal out there, but he was a real MVP today. So
Low-key
I gotta dedicate it to him.
Yes.
And also a side dedication to the Herspective podcast. They were such good sports and really fun to have. So
definitely.
Dedication over,
guys. All right, well, let's get into it. So I just mentioned that we have a special guest on our show today, and I want to introduce you to her. I want to talk about how we met just really quick before I have her tap in. But you recently had an art, what do you call it? Not an exhibit, an art show where you display some of your art at First Fridays at Fountain Square at the Murphy's Art Center, which is always a super dope event. If you guys haven't ever checked it out, definitely tap in to the local artists there.
Oh, and side dedication to Melly Studio for hosting us. That was fantastic.
Thank you. Yes.
Or Showroom.
The Melly Showroom. Yes, thank you. So it was a super dope art show, and we met an artist there who I was like, okay, so I walk over and I'm observing her art, and it's really beautiful. And so I just wanted to introduce you guys to her. So Hannah Rhane, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited for this. This is my first time ever being on a podcast.
Oh my gosh.
It's very a liberating experience. I'm not gonna lie.
Fabulous. Yes. I'm glad to know that you're like your first podcast is with us.
Definitely.
That's great. I hope it's a positive experience.
It already is. Really? Got the wine, the paint, the candy, all of that. It's a good experience already.
Oh, good. I'm glad to hear it.
Absolutely, absolutely. So basically, you guys, I wanted to introduce you guys to Hannah Rhane because, again, when we were at the Melly Showroom, I'm looking at these beautiful artistic works that she's working on, and they're like self-portraits.
Yeah, because you were doing a live painting too. Like you were there painting live.
Which just seems hard. Is that hard?
It really was. It really was at the beginning because, I mean, at first it wasn't a lot of people. Like, it was only people that I knew. But when more people started coming, I'm like, oh, shit. Like, oh, my gosh.
Feeling.
I'm like,
people
very
are seeing
anxious
me
right now. People are really seeing me. People just staring there looking at me like, oh, my God, are you painting yourself? And... you know, and then I started taking a couple shots and started feeling myself. Yes. And I really just, was more in the moment and just started doing my thing. It was really good. It was a really good experience. That was my first time doing a live painting too. So.
Well, I love that you said that.
I would never have known that. There's so much because I wouldn't have known this was your first podcast. You're so poised.
Thank you.
And then I definitely did not know that was your first live paint. Really? Like you were so confident and like.
I love it. I was just like, I love this energy. So how long have you been painting? Because this is the part that I almost fell on the ground. I'm like, you just started this? This is like wildly good. I just thought, man, if this is the beginning part, like that's awesome.
Yes, thank you so much. I've always known that I've been very creative and very tapped into, creating things, whether it's, writing, poetry, or just picking up a paintbrush or anything. But I started just doing like painting sessions with my friends. but that was really during COVID. We just started doing painting sessions, or growing up, I would always do like a little doodle on the paper on my test. And during COVID, I was just really going through a lot, and I started painting more. And then, but this year, I actually sat down and started painting myself. And that's when I really started taking art serious. So I really started taking it more serious and doing what I truly wanted to paint about 6 months ago.
Like, I'm sorry. So just for you guys who are listening, I don't have art in front of us to show you right now, but I'm definitely I want to be able to post some stuff. So you'll have to send me some stuff. I'll put it in our stories. I'll put it up on our social media pages. But I just felt like, I mean, for 6 months, like, that was super impressive to me. And I really liked your energy. Like Kat said, I mean, you seem super confident. Your art was really good. So it just felt like, oh my gosh, look at this young woman, confident. She's out here. I mean, like, even just talking to people and people are watching you is hard. So creating something that doesn't even exist in a space, you know what I mean? Like, in front of people, I feel like, kudos to you. You know, that takes a lot of confidence.
Thank you.
So
I liked your video.
Which one?
The promotional video that they showed at the showroom.
That was from my first art gallery this summer.
Yeah, because that's where we met.
We met.
Your show there, and it was Heel Brown Girl, and I was impressed with you then, and I was like, wow, this is really great, because that's the thing about art, like, everything you consume just inspires you. So everything, like, I try to paint, I'm like, yeah, I want that healing, like, because it feels so good to paint.
It really does. Like, painting is my meditation.
Same.
I will sit there and, meditate, formally, but to sit there and just paint and just let it all out and let all my emotions out, it's like I'm painting a story. Even though I don't have a sketch or anything, I'll have a blank canvas. My mind will just go. Like, I just go by step, and there's no rules to it. I just paint how I feel, and then at the end of it, sometimes I think, like, I'm not done, but then I'll keep adding more onto it, and it's like I'm painting more of a deeper story to it. So each painting that I have done so far, it has a story behind it. So.
I love that. And we're into storytelling here. I mean, this is the Fake Ass Book Club, and a lot of what we do centers around narratives. And so the reason why this is super dope to me is because, like, books can be people. We all have stories to share, and sometimes it's through our art, sometimes it's through literature, sometimes it's through our interactions with other people and our own life experiences, music, all of the things. So it's nice. And so speaking of blank canvases, oh my God, we have blank canvases here. I mean, I don't consider myself an artist. I consider myself creative.
Back on that. I think everyone is an artist. I really do.
In their own way.
Okay.
And that's the thing too, because because all children are artists. They're never afraid to get in there.
So
and it's that fearlessness, because sometimes it is scary. Like, you're looking at that blank canvas and I'm like, oh my God, what if I mess it up?
Exactly.
I'm like, this stuff costs so much money.
Yeah, so you guys, we're just here. We have some canvases. We're just kind of like painting as we go, as we have the conversation. I have no idea what I'm doing, but we're going to show them to you.
And we're going to give you some commentary too. So right now we're filling up, because this is an audio medium. So if you want to see us do this, go to YouTube.
Yeah, definitely go to YouTube.
But I thought it'd be nice to have Hannah, like, kind of do a guided paint with us, because you brought up the idea too that you wanted to do like a podcast and paint sort of vibe. So we've kind of just manifested this, I think.
Yeah.
If I do
we're
say
badasses.
So
We do what we want. You know what I'm saying?
we do. So to me, this is a lovely way to end. This has been an action-packed weekend.
Oh my
And
goodness.
sitting still right now to sit, paint, sip, and because we're just, sipping, got a little rosé. And
Because we're fancy.
so this is so guide us, Hannah. Will you do this?
Listen,
is
I
just
already
open
started
paint? You
because
sure
I'm
did.
hard-headed.
You
Okay,
have the
how about
heart.
that?
That is what you do. You're
I just started doing
unstoppable.
stuff. Yeah.
So I'm gonna.
I'm just painting what I'm feeling right now, and I see Moni. She's doing the same thing.
Yeah, I'm
She's
just out here in these
painting
streets.
whatever.
Yeah.
Welcome to the streets.
And so she's giving a lot of energy right now. Moni has some very vigorous royal blue strokes on her canvas.
Blue's one of my faves, so I just figured I'd start there.
She was in a R&B group called Blue.
First of all, you
was.
know what? I want to cuss you out right now because that is
there a
really,
black?
really foul.
If there isn't,
You might have to use the acrylic
okay.
if you need the black. I don't think you have any black water paint.
Use a raw umber.
I cannot stand
No, but
saying
it's
that.
just
It's true, though.
something interesting for the people. We might post some pics on the Patreon. Some of the promo photos from Blue.
Sure. Shout out to, you know what? Shout out to you, Dee Dee, if you're listening. Shout out to you, Tiffany. Yes, the original High School Musical. Okay, because that is about the time that happened. But yeah, man. But also too, I think it's. I mean, you know what? Even though I'm mildly embarrassed by that for some reason right now, I don't know. It just feels crazy. But I do want to say that
I'm glad you did it.
I am too, though, because, you know, even then there was always something that I was involved in artistically, whether it was music or whatever, that was sort of a, you know, like an outlet, I guess, if you want to say. So I really do appreciate having, you know, people in my life that I was able to be free, because I mean, it does take a certain amount of letting go.
Definitely.
Which I've never been great at, and I think maybe that's kind of why I cling to art at times, is because I need it. Because in every other context of my life, everything's so rigid and so tight. And so I love to create those spaces where I can be a little bit more free. So it just makes it nice. You know what I mean? Like,
Speaking of letting go, I'm in that phase of my life.
Come on.
It's okay.
It's real.
Guys, listen,
We're
in an
actually,
art
I
studio.
haven't even introduced the space.
Get on in here. Yeah, let's introduce the space, you guys. Thank you.
This is the 76 trillion years of Atelier. This is RC. This is Nico. We're they're graciously letting us come in here and podcast and paint.
Yeah, man. We might have to do an event out here in these streets right now.
Absolutely.
And shout you guys out. This is really fun. Listen, don't wait too
Fake Ass
long.
Book Club recording here?
Yeah.
Come on now.
Yeah, we're tripping, right?
We would love nothing more than to host y'all.
Really?
Seriously.
Listen,
We
we'd
do
love
need
to
more
hear
of this. I
that.
strongly
Yes, you're
agree.
right. Yes,
Trust us.
agreed.
I know that.
Yeah.
All right, man, we have to do
Thank you,
that.
ladies.
Yes, thank you for
Thank you.
It was nice
Right
meeting
on.
you
My
too.
pleasure.
It's
You
so
as
nice
well.
to have
I'm
real
ready to check out
gentlemen
some
in
art
this
next
world.
Definitely.
Yes,
Definitely.
very
Guys,
much
thank you so much.
Yeah, to the real ones.
You got the key.
Yeah, I'm good. Yeah, I got it.
Have a nice night.
Hold on, y'all be safe. Yep, take care.
I was saying that speaking of letting go, I feel like I'm in that phase in my life where I'm just letting go and letting grow, you know, letting go and letting myself grow. And it's just been so much happening in the past few weeks, but this week I've had so many opportunities from the moment that I did the live painting at the Millie showroom. I met so many people that night.
Wasn't that great?
Yes,
It was
didn't.
a really great night.
It really was. It didn't even feel real. It really didn't. Like, it felt so amazing that it didn't just seem real. But I met so many people that night. This whole week was just filled with a lot of opportunity. Like, I think it was 2-3 days ago, I got paid to be a live painter at the Afro Ball at Indy. It was so beautiful. It was a vibe. They had drums going, live dancers, and then there was a fashion show. I also got to model too.
Okay.
And you should, like everyone should
And
tune
first
in,
of
because
all,
can we talk about it real
Kid,
quick?
look,
We don't
I
wanna embarrass
know
our
where you're
guests.
going.
We want to make sure, but like,
Know where you're going.
you are absolutely
First of
gorgeous.
all,
You almost don't look real.
She looks like an actual work of art, first of all. I was like, do you know how beautiful you are? Have you seen
Absolutely
yourself?
lovely. So yes, and
Absolutely.
you. For one, I can't remember when it was Moni said this. I think I was describing like after I found this space, because I was like, when I found this space, I was like, oh my goodness, this is such a dope place to create. And you said something like, "Isn't it whoever knew life could be nice?"
Right.
It's like yeah,
So
like
this could be
you're
nice.
expecting everything to be terrible all the time, because so often it is.
Yeah, but the more that you expect it to be nice, the more that you attract the nice.
Yes, you get to see it.
And
you
the fact
have
that
to
you're your
seek it and
age saying
attract
that,
it.
and I'm
Yes,
just
so
now
ahead.
getting to that point where I can
So
understand
ahead.
that is
It
beautiful.
gives me hope though, because I feel like, because you're the same age as my son. And it's the same thing when I look at him. I'm like, you're so much better than I
Yes,
was
you guys
at
are
that
awesome.
age. Like, just so you have so much more game. you're so much more together, so much, it just composed. I was a mess. Like,
A beautiful, beautiful mess.
yes. Like, I mean, I still have a lot of love for that young 21-year-old cat, of course. Like, she got me here. But still, it's been a journey. So
Definitely.
so far Moni's it's giving and oddly enough, it's giving
I like that.
tranquility.
Yeah, I need it.
You do.
Blues get me there. I love blues so much.
I don't know what I'm painting.
I don't either.
You're making, like, right now it's parallel. You're level.
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like that. I
You're-
like
It's
that.
level.
I
You're
really like
leveling
that.
out. And I kind of felt like a sunset. So I have like a sunset ombre. Like right now, my soul is at the beach watching the sunset.
Yeah, man, my
I like
soul's
that.
always there.
Yeah.
For sure. So let me ask you this. So you said you've been doing art for how long again now?
Like, seriously or actually, like?
Yeah, just like when you said you started taking it seriously, and now you're like, okay, this is my gig, and I'm trying to, like, you're trying to create opportunities for yourself. What are some challenges that you feel like you face when you're in this artistic space? Do you feel like a lot of support, or do you feel like you have to kind of prove yourself? Like, what is the sort of landscape like as far as being a new artist?
At first, I think that I was really struggling with, I need to create something that people are gonna buy and people are gonna like.
Oh, so you went straight to capitalism.
Yeah. And I think, like, that was really destroying me, because preparing for my art show, I didn't create, like, I had about a couple months, like, I went to Mexico and I was trying to create something, but I was so mad at myself because I was like, this isn't gonna sell, because this isn't me. This is, deep down inside, I was like, this isn't me, so why am I creating something for someone else when this is truly for me? And then like, it was so much time going by that I procrastinated, and I really waited until the week of my show to create all of those pieces that you've seen.
I can't
at Hill
really
Brown
relate
Girl.
to that.
Like, I literally
I'm
every
being
day.
very
She
ironic.
definitely
Yeah.
can.
Yeah, Moni was giving me a little bit of.
No, I wasn't. I mean, because I find that impressive. Like,
It's not
and here's the listen. So
Artists work better under pressure. I think so.
I mean, it's only because the adrenaline kicks in, because you're like,
Definitely.
oh my God, I have to stay up all night and finish this now. But you're right, a lot of my best pieces were made the night before. Real talk. Yes. Where I remember.
I guess, and I never meant to be offensive, but I don't want to minimalize the art that you create because I'm mentioning, like, oh, this only took her X amount of days or something, because to me, that makes it even more impressive. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to devalue it, though, because I feel like, maybe you do, like she said, maybe sometimes that external, like, okay, this has to get done, gives you that kind of spark to, be like, okay, I got to get this done or whatever. But to me, I'm just like, damn, I mean, these pieces look like,
You took your time on it.
and not that you didn't. I mean, like, you're an artist, so clearly you know what you're doing too. So to me, that's always a point of being, like, impressed. So I never say that in a way to be like, oh my gosh,
No,
she only did this in 2
always
days.
funny,
She was
'cause
fucking off for the last week and
People
didn't,
love the ethos of, like, this artist who's just working day and night and pouring
I think
into,
so.
like, they
I
like
get
that.
that.
story instead of like,
It's
yeah,
like, yeah, I was
man,
just
I
out
just
here
spent the
and
last 12 hours, I ain't sleep, I ain't do nothing, man, my house is a wreck.
Yeah.
Like,
Yes.
it's so obvious too, like, when I've been painting, because everything else falls by the wayside, because I like how you likened it to a meditation. Like, I'm in another world, like, I'm in art world, or it's when I'm doing any project, I'm completely, like, immersed in it. So I think that what leads to the procrastination, because I know once I start, I'm not gonna stop.
Yeah.
So I have to make sure, I'm like, let me make sure I've made some food, let me make sure I've done some laundry, let me make sure, like, my life is in some sort of order, because at the end of it, I'm gonna look up and be like, why hasn't anybody done anything? It's like, right. It's because I've been in the art world. So yeah, but like I said, you wouldn't know from looking at your work.
No,
And I agree with Moni too. It's very, very impressive for someone your age, because you see people who I won't say that. I'll move on. Oh.
You
So
see?
you're gonna be fake.
Oh,
You and it's the Fake Ass Good Club. Listen, lies are the glue that holds society together.
that is true.
Definitely.
That is true. You know what I mean? Yeah, we don't want to be too offensive. We're too good at that.
Right.
Definitely. I
But
feel
it
like we live in a very sensitive society right now.
But I
so-
do share with you like how like during the lockdown I started painting. I've always enjoyed painting, but it's so hard to make time for. So there's nothing like being locked down inside your home to make you be like, well, I better find something I can do here. And I was like, well, I can paint.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was and it was very healing too, because I don't know about anybody else. The lockdown was also very difficult for me. Like it was a I feel like it's something that doesn't get talked enough about. I feel like we're
a whole bunch of white paint.
I feel like we're all expected to just get back to normal after that, and I think we need to be very proactive about our healing.
You have to acknowledge it.
Yeah, the pandemic went on for over 2 years. We're how long out of it? Like maybe a year. Like it's not odd for something that went on for a couple years to maybe take you a couple years to heal from.
Definitely.
So if anybody's out there and you're struggling and you feel like everyone else is like getting over it and you're still, in pain and haven't healed yet, you're not crazy. Like, and if you don't like painting, find something. But painting helps.
I was gonna say painting is oddly satisfying. I have no idea what's going
And you're
on, but
getting
it feels
down.
good.
I have to say, you're blending in.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's just fun. Because I think what I like about art. So I don't think I could ever be an artist that was trying to interpret something in reality.
I don't think so.
I have to definitely.
Okay.
Well, I will say that it's not my natural space. You know what I mean? Like I like the abstract. Like I want, the idea of painting from your feelings feels more authentic to me. Yeah.
Okay.
Because I'm not probably gonna make that look just like whatever it is that I'm looking at, which that would be my inclination. Like I think I would get
So
caught
do you
up.
feel like that's what art should be? Is that maybe like you got a case of the shouldas?
Maybe, yeah. Oh, I have a bad case of those. I'm
It's like it
spending-
should be like this, but art shouldn't be. Any art
I think
is-
art should just be how you feel and what you want to create, honestly. So,
I agree. You hand me the black
Definitely a
paint,
strong agree.
the acrylic.
Definitely.
Yeah, that one. Thank you.
Awesome. So let me ask you this: do you feel like art is something that runs in your family, or are you like the only person in your family who does art, or is it something that's just like literally in your blood?
I think that art runs in our family. My uncle, he's really good at drawing faces. And when my mom showed me like what he would draw when he was locked up in prison, it would really inspire me at a young age. And I was like, dang, he is so good. Like, but as a young kid, I didn't realize that he has so much time. He has so much time to himself that he can actually sit down and draw that. But it was just so beautiful seeing that and just knowing that somebody can create a face without actually being a face, like actually looking at someone. But I think that really inspired me to paint faces. I think that painting faces is really, it's like you're painting your emotions. Like you don't even have a facial expression on your face, but you feel what they're feeling mentally,
Yeah,
So.
absolutely. I'm always super impressed when people can recreate things that exist. Again, like for me, it feels weird because I feel a lot of pressure to get it exactly like. I have a hard time letting it just be like my
Your
interpretation of
impression.
something.
Definitely.
But also, let's talk about my depth perception is not great. And so like when you're like have a flat surface, like the idea of creating space, like spatial sort of like the rules of that, it's like I never really took any real art classes to learn it. So I'm not saying I couldn't learn it, but also it's not something that naturally occurs to me either. And I do think that we tend to have an idea that like you're naturally just good at something because you're just naturally good at it, as opposed to like you're mentioning, your uncle had all this time. Like he had time to sit and get good at his craft. And I do think that we need to be more aware of like that's what it takes though.
It
You
just
know
takes
what I mean?
time.
Like stuff does take time. You do have to like actually create space and time to get good at stuff. You're not just gonna show up in this thing and be
the best
at
at it.
and I'm saying the best, but like my thing is the fact that if you're showing up and you're trying, like that's half of it. Like showing up is so much of what makes you successful. Like the fact that we're here right now, You know what I mean? And then despite all of the things that make it sometimes hard to show up, you know what I mean? You have life, you have, you know, all kinds of stuff going on. You've got, you know, your own mental health, you've got, you know, all of the things that you have to balance in the meantime. So being able to make time for something like art, I feel like sometimes seems gratuitous. It seems, it doesn't seem like a necessity. And I feel like, you know, that's kind of what I want this podcast to also kind of remind people, like, no, this is a necessity. This is a meditation. Like, I never thought about some of the things that I'm involved in as far as self-care being a meditation, you know. And I don't think a lot of people look at art as a meditation, but I'm glad that y'all are mentioning that, because it's like, no, this is a meditation, because anything that takes you outside of what you'd normally be doing and you're focusing, like, intently on it, and only it, like, that is a meditation. So I feel like it's super dope to create those spaces for yourself, and you never know what can kind of come out of that. So
Definitely.
yeah.
So Hannah, my question is, I'm curious because I talk to women of all different ages, and so I know what it's like for me. Are you, like, these are personal questions, so feel free not to answer. Are you single?
I am now.
Okay, so are you dating?
Actually, no, I'm not. I recently just got out of a relationship, probably not even a week ago.
What? Oh,
Yes.
girl, I did not mean to pick at that one.
No, you're fine. I'm feeling very humble and peaceful about it.
Okay.
You know, like, even going into the relationship, like, I had the mindset of, I'm definitely gonna, I know that this relationship is meant for me. It doesn't have to be for the long run, but it definitely is meant for me right now in the phase that I am in my life. And I had that talk with him, and I was telling him, like, you know, I felt like I was in a relationship that was trying to keep me to be the old version of myself. And I'm growing so much that I want to evolve rather than stay the same. So I rather respect our relationship and keep it platonic rather than intimate, because it will become toxic, because I know right now in my heart that this is not for me right now.
That is so mature.
My God. I mean, like, hello?
If I had had that sort of, like, thought patterns when I was that age, that is so perfectly put. So I was just curious what dating is. I'm always so curious what dating is like now, because, like I said, life was so different when I was 21 years old, and, like, I'm single and trying to date, and
I think dating is very hard now, because my generation, it's like they don't know how to love. They don't know how to love.
So what do you mean when you say that? Like,
I
what
feel
makes you say
like
that?
loving someone is loving them for them, and also loving them through their pain and their present self, and also, you know, pushing them to be the best version of themselves, even when it gets ugly.
Sure, yeah.
So I feel like that's love, even if it's like platonically or romantically. I think that if you can have that intimate relationship with someone, that's a plus.
Absolutely. So how do you think you learned that, though? Like, is that something that seems intuitive to you, or is that something like you feel like got passed on to you through family or just relationships? Like, because I mean, you know, in my opinion, I feel like a lot of the time, as far as love, you know, we think about love, especially romantic, in a romantic sense, it's, you know, we tend to take our ideas from what we see in the arts, you know, like you see the movies, you see the rom-coms, you see Disney, and you have an idea about it. Do you think that some of that has to do with how love is sort of like marketed toward us? And our expectations and stuff?
I think that it's a balance between expectations and what is presented to us. Because some people will compare to like TV shows and movies, but everybody has their own unique path of finding love. But if you're able to learn from other people's experiences and also learn from, you know, your own experiences and take that risk to actually learn from it, then I think that is very essential to dating. Sometimes you have, like, everything in life is a risk.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you're willing to get up there and do your thing, no matter what, even if you know you're gonna have some anxiety about it, but I think life is just about taking a risk, because how are you gonna learn without a risk?
You know what? That's a really beautiful sentiment. And the fact that you're your age and you can recognize that is really beautiful, because I think that that is 100% true. Like, you know, we go into certain relationships feeling like, you know, having a certain expectation for it. And not that you shouldn't have an idea about what you want or what you expect from people. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think no matter what situation you're involved in, you should probably be looking to add value to that situation, and you should expect that back. But at the same time, like, even if this relationship isn't forever,
I know
let
I'm
me
gonna
get
learn
what I need to get out of this. This is a lesson for me, you know? And hopefully we make each other better, so that when we move on and we forge new relationships, you know, we can better those situations. I know a lot of people feel a way about that, though.
Yeah.
They be like, okay, I'm in a relationship with you, and I need you to be perfect for me. And
But
F
it's
that,
not always
I don't
like
want
that.
you moving on to be the perfect person for this next
Someone
person.
else.
And I mean, and I'm not acting like I don't understand that sentiment. I guess I do feel like when you invest time into certain things, it can probably feel like that.
I'm just drinking this.
But I do also feel like you have to be able to, you know, be willing to learn from whatever situation you're in, take the positive from it, and be able to take, you know what I mean? Like, I think not every situation we're going to be in is going to be that situation that's our forever situation. But it doesn't make it less valuable, if that makes
Right.
sense.
I think that every person that you encounter them either for a reason, like a lesson or a season.
Yeah.
You know, I think that some relationships that we do encounter, like, you're gonna learn from them and you're gonna be like, dang, I'm okay with that, but I'm disappointed, you know? But then the other ones is gonna be like, okay, that was, you know, that was a season. I'm not, you know, it's gonna change. It's
Even
gonna
you
change.
just saying that, like, you were in a relationship, you like this person, but then you felt like at some point, you know, I'm trying to go here.
Right.
And I feel like being in this particular relationship keeps me from going where I want to go. So, like, being able to have that sort of, you know what I mean? To have that sort of mental space to be like, and maturity to say, like, you know what, I like this, I like you, but also I like myself more, kind of.
Yes.
And I
Or
think
like
that
future
choosing yourself,
self that I know I can become.
I know
Exactly,
what I
and
want.
that's
Yeah,
where I'm
I
at
know
right now.
myself. Do you think, I ask people this all the time, but I feel like our society needs a breakup ritual.
Oh, yes.
Because there's no way to kindly break up with someone. Because sometimes it's not a matter of like, I'm mad at you or you did this or that. Sometimes it's just we've outgrown the relationship. So how do you like peacefully and with dignity like decouple from someone?
Yeah, how did
I
yours
think-
go? Was it smooth or what?
Mine was very smooth, but I feel like the way that I initiated it was very much immature.
Oh, really?
Yes, I feel like the way that I initiated was very immature in the sense of I texted him.
Okay.
Why would you break up with somebody through text? You know?
I mean, to avoid the tears, I've like broken up with someone before and they started crying. It's very uncomfortable.
So what?
Yeah.
What do you mean, so what? Like, this is someone you loved. Like, it's like,
Yeah.
it's not like I
I'm
hate
saying-
you now, because there's no way to communicate. Like,
But you hate me if you can't even have the conversation with me.
Definitely, and
Well,
I think
I kinda-
that's the respect thing. You have to respect them for
Because you're just
bringing
thinking about
it up.
your feelings at that point,
Yeah.
like how uncomfortable you are. I'm just saying, like, if it really meant something to you, I feel like, you know, and I mean, maybe this is a generational thing. I'm old, but I do feel like you're at least old, especially if it's a real, like, now, if y'all only been dating for like a few weeks, months, whatever, you know what I'm saying? If it's not really that serious, okay, maybe you talk like that. But to me, I'm just like, I'm gonna have the conversation with you.
okay, well, how long were y'all together?
Yeah,
6 months.
6 months.
Maybe 6. But that's just me
Okay.
at my big age. To me, 6 months isn't that much.
Yeah, I mean,
But
It's not, but I think the amount of time that I've spent with him, it felt like years.
okay.
But it was
The
beautiful.
intensity of it,
It was
yeah.
very beautiful. Like I'm in college, you know. I had to move out of my apartment, and it was like that split month that I had to move out of my apartment. I was staying with him. I was staying with him, but it was like, I really want this. So what's the issue? Like, we didn't look at it like a big deal, but once I moved out and I got my own space, it was like, I really like I like being by myself.
Yo, I'm glad you said that because I do feel like, you know, especially when you're at your age and you're like leaving home, I do feel like that a lot of people attach themselves to other people in order to sustain their lives. And I do think that there's some value in knowing, I can take care of myself outside of, you know, without somebody else's help. I do get that, like right now, I mean, I'm from the 1900s, so this could be totally obscure at this point. But, you know, I get like rent is higher now. When you're talking about paying a certain amount of money, it's nice to think about like, okay, if I move out, I got somebody to split this rent with me. But at the same time, there's still a certain amount of dependence that you have on that person for your livelihood. And so however you can get it, I do think that it's important to know you can take care of yourself. You can pay your bills, you can sustain your lifestyle without a person, so that, you know, that level of control, you know, that somebody can have over your life and your livelihood doesn't necessarily exist.
Right.
So I do think that it's a mature place to be when you can recognize, you know what, like this is cool. Like I'm glad that this is, you know, you've been able to help me in a financial way, but also
it's time to move
I
on.
like having my own space because there's nothing like that, right?
Yeah.
Girl, you come home, all your shit's exactly where you want it to be.
And then on top of that, I had a puppy.
Okay.
So, like, staying in a one-bedroom apartment, not a lot of space, a puppy, me and him, it just wasn't... I feel like I was just deep down inside, I was like, dang, I don't have any space to call my own right now. But I love being in your space, but I know that I'm not going to break up with you right now because I really do love you, but I need to take some time to myself to see if that's what I really want.
Yeah, because once you do that, honey, it's there. You know what I mean? Like,
Okay,
and I do
like
think
that.
it's important.
I like yours too.
Thank you. I think it's important to know what it's like to have your own
I don't
space.
know what I'm creating.
You know what I mean? Like, it's a because there's only a little window of time before you attach yourself to somebody where you get to know what that looks and feels like. And I think once you already attach yourself to someone, especially once you start having kids and making a family, it's a done deal. Like your space ain't yours.
Yeah.
No, you know what I'm saying? So it's a privilege to be able to curate your own space and to know what that feels like. And to be able to be in that space and make that for yourself, I think it's important, you know? So I think that's a really great point to make because it is important, definitely, so.
I also liked when you mentioned your uncle. Because I come from an art family too. So I have an uncle I never met, but like I know him through his paintings. Like he died before I was born.
And I've never met him.
Yeah, so like meeting someone through their work is very interesting. Even the space, go nuts. Like I saw this space before I met the artist. It's very, very interesting, like seeing someone's work and then being your introduction to them.
Yeah.
And I also too, at your show, your dad was there.
Oh yeah.
And he's so proud of you. It's so cute. And that reminded me of my dad. Like he was that kind of dude. You know what I mean? He's like, oh, everybody's gonna know that's my daughter.
Okay. He said proud dad.
Proud dad. I was like, I loved that. So that's what's up. And actually, because I think this is gonna air on my dad's birthday.
Is it really?
I believe so. So side dedication to the GOAT.
Oh,
God.
Listen,
Maybe
let's
what
cheers.
I am.
Yes, cheers to
Wait.
the man, the myth, and the legend.
Yeah.
To those dads out
Daddy
there.
was a real one.
Yes.
Oh, and also to your dad too.
Yes, he was just
He was
here.
just
This is a
here,
dad
man.
episode.
To the real dads, everybody want to talk about like black dads this, black dad that. Man, we have some real black daddies. Okay.
Man, we got a bunch of real black daddies
So
out here.
this is a really deep question. Do you think that your relationship with your parents determine what kind of significant other you'll be?
Yes.
You think?
Yes.
Okay.
I think it
depends.
influences who you choose,
Yeah.
and I think it influences what kind of partner you are. I definitely do.
Yeah.
I
I think it's a big part
But
of that.
why,
But not
though?
necessarily in a bad way. You know, I think, my dad was the first man I ever loved. You know what I mean?
Right.
So
You
he
look for
taught
that.
me a lot about how men are and what I can really expect from men. You know what I mean? Like that was, I think, one of the biggest things too. One of the things I always kind of giggle to myself about is like when women like complain about men leaving the seat up. It's like, oh, well, you must not have grown up with your daddy in the house because you learned that early on. Because like if you better make sure that seat's down when you go in the bathroom, or you're just gonna have a wet ass.
There's that.
And it's like I can't be like, Daddy, let's see. It's like he was probably at work. I probably couldn't even complain. That dude was like, it's just after a while you just learn. It's like I just need to look to make sure the seat's down before I sit down.
Yeah,
And
making
that's
space
just
for
that.
each other, and it's just different. Yeah, that energy.
Yeah, living with a man is very
It's a
it's
unique
very
experience.
It really is.
yeah, which is why sometimes it's nice to live by yourself.
Thank you. That's what I'm saying. Like, enjoy that while you can, ladies.
So when you have your own home, I know that you're married. Are you married?
I've been married twice. I'm in between marriages right now.
Okay. So when you're married and you're living with your husband, do you think that is important for you to have your own space?
Yes.
Because I've always wanted, like, whenever I see that my dad, you know, in his relationship, he has his own separate room.
That's so
good for
smart.
him.
Like, he has his own separate room where he keeps his clothes,
He's
his
living my
shoes.
dream.
They're gonna stay together.
Yeah,
that's probably
and
why.
I think that is very important in relationships, and I see a lot of relationships that don't have that, and they don't last. They don't. And I'm like, how can you live with someone and you don't have your own space?
Yeah, it's hard because, I mean, like, so what I will say is that there is some forfeiting that when you're in a relationship, because you're combining your life with somebody else's, so it's our space. But also, I do think that it's important to cultivate spaces outside of things that are community for just yourself. And that's what this podcast is. Hannah, that's what this is. Like, this is a space where I can connect with my friend, meet new people, you know what I mean? Because sometimes it's hard to do when it's at home because everything is so melded together. But I would venture to say that it's super important to, even in your home, have spaces that are just for you. You know what I'm saying? Right. And I would say too, even, you know, for your partner, you know, for your spouse, whomever, your kids, like, everybody has to have a space where they feel like they can be free
feel safe.
to
safe
have
place.
their own stuff. And I do think it can be a difficult task when you're, you know, when you live with somebody every day, but it just has to be intentional. And there's nothing wrong with acknowledging that we need space from each other. You know what I mean? Like, I don't care who they are. If it's your mama and you live with her, you need space from her. You know what I'm saying? Like, we all need our own space. So, yeah, I think that it's, you know, my dream is to have my own bathroom one day. You know, I went from
That's
sharing
essential.
bathrooms with, you know, brothers as a young person to having a husband. Like, yo, that is my dream, is to one day, you know, have my own bathroom that I don't necessarily have to share. Or at least we have a mirrored bathroom that where you don't have to come over here.
I had a brief moment in time when I was married where I did have my own full bathroom.
Really?
Like, and it was fantastic.
Yeah.
We might still be together if we still lived in that house. You never
you
know.
what I'm saying?
Because it's something about having your own space. So, Hannah, I would say yes, having your own space is very, very important.
Deeply
I
important.
know a lot of couples, because when I look at long-term couples in real life, not TV, not media, but in real life, I find that people do tend to have their own spaces. Definitely.
And have their own lives too. You know what I mean? I'm not saying like you don't have a life together, but I do think it's important to, you know, forge that sort of partnership with each other and have that lockdown, but also to have the space to explore your own, who you are. You know, you don't want to forget who you are because you're in a relationship. Like, we all know that friend that you have who, you know, starts dating somebody and it's like, you know what I mean? Yeah, like, you know, you disappear. Like, you're the sense of who you are is immediately tied up with whoever you're in a relationship with, and you don't know how to balance those two things. So I think it's important to hold space for both things.
The right person for you is going to want that for you.
Yeah,
because that's the whole point. Like,
please,
when we met, like, this is how I was. So, like, I think one of the reasons, like, some of my relationships didn't want to work out is because my partners were kind of casting me in a role and wanted me to change. Oh, did I hit a
What's
nerve?
crazy? Like, you know what's crazy? Me and him had this conversation literally the other day, and I was like, this is what I've been trying to tell you. Why didn't you understand? Now that we're broken up, now you understand that, you know, this is probably what we needed, but I don't know if I'm ready to be in another relationship, even if it's with you.
Absolutely.
You know?
Like
I
let's
want
talk
to.
about that.
Yes.
Because I feel like I might just be in a season in my life where I just need to be single.
Oh yes.
Like, you know, I make the joke I'm in between marriages, but because I brought up dating because I've been trying to date. I have people in my life who are like in their 60s. They're trying to date. We're all having the same problem.
Oh, wow.
And I'm like wondering, I'm like, okay, first off, let me ask myself, do I have time to date?
Exactly. Do you have the mental capacity?
Do I have the emotional bandwidth? I don't know. Well, yes, I do. I don't think I do. But on the other side,
Yeah,
I
still
like
like
male
it.
companionship.
Yeah.
Like I have competing desires. So, and I think that's the crux of life, right? Because we all have these things that we want, but a lot of times you can't have them all at the same time. It's just impossible. I think I said this to you earlier, Moni. We are all bound by the space-time continuum.
I know, it sucks.
Like we're not able to break free from it yet. I'm working on it.
Yeah, true that.
Stand by.
So let me ask you this, because this is something that me and Kat disagree about
Oh
deeply.
boy.
You know, as far as platonic relationships
Oh, boy.
between men and women, do you think
I know
that
it's gonna be
that is
good.
a possibility? Like, do you think
Yes.
that's a thing? Tell
Yes,
me why.
more.
Oh man, let's
most
team
of
up
my-
on.
Yeah, tell
Most
me
of
why,
my friends
Hannah.
are males,
Really?
and as I get older, I
And
mean,
you don't
I
think
do.
any of them would sleep with you?
I know they all will.
That's
But that's the thing. But that's the thing. Like they've tried
so Hannah's
to,
on my side now.
but they've
No,
tried to.
that's
They
not how that
definitely
works,
have, you know, initiated like, you know, I want to have that type of intimate relationship with you. But, you know, I stand my ground. I'm like, I'm not presenting that vibe to you, so you either gonna catch on or you gonna catch
on,
a flight
or
and
move
get out of
on,
my life.
yeah.
You know, so but I know that if you can respect that, then you are meant to be in my life. And most of the men that are my friends right now, I have learned so much from them.
Let's
Like,
talk
I'm
about
not
it,
gonna
Hannah.
lie.
Let's talk
Male
about it.
friends are essential.
I'm not saying
Essential.
they're not. I'm not even saying I don't want male friends. I'm just saying there's always that underlying sexual tension.
So what?
But I mean, they're just waiting. You know what's crazy? I had this conversation.
Purely platonic. That's all I'm saying. It's not purely platonic.
It'll be
The way
platonic
that
as
my
long
female
as you make
relationships
it
are.
platonic.
But
Yeah.
it's not like I ever have to worry about, like, if I, with my female friends, it's never like, oh, hey, I'm feeling lonely. Will you come over and remedy that? Like, they'll be like, nah.
Don't be thirsty. Like, that's part of it. Don't
But
be
like,
thirsty.
No, but I'm
Like,
just
you
saying,
don't have
like,
to
not be thirsty, but I feel like men, more than not, if you give them the signal like, hey, it's a go, they're going to be like, okay, let's go.
I'm not saying that. Of course they
But
are.
I mean, if you
Don't give them
that,
the signal for
don't
the
give
go.
them the signal
But
if
it's
you're
just
not
what I'm
ready
saying.
for
Without
that.
the signal, they're going to be like, maybe
So
this
what?
time.
Niggas is gonna be nig. They gonna nig. Like, I'm not
But-
saying they're not gonna
but the
nig.
thing
All
is,
I'm
you know
saying,
what,
that's
from
I think we
my-
agree.
From my experience this year, like I went through sexual assault, and I mean, I'm healed now. You know,
That
heal,
was part
heal
of
brown
the
girl.
exhibit.
That was
Yeah,
part of
that
the
was
exhibit, and I don't
nice.
know, did you stay when I read, you know, my story?
Yeah.
And I read it, and it was very liberating when I read that. I feel like
I
I
thought
was.
it was really great that you did that, because that's one of the
I
things that
started
stood out
tearing
for
up.
me. I saw that and I was like, this is so brave, but it's so needed. Like, people need to know, like, okay, it's not just me.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
you know?
Like, it's like, it's not just me. It's not my fault. Like, this is something that someone chose to do to me, and I don't have to choose to carry it.
Exactly, and I want to let it out and let people be able to relate to it in a sense. Because, you know, I think that I was listening to this podcast and we were talking about sexual assault is not talked about simply because they feel that something that you talk about, you agree with it. You know, and
Psychologically, people think you're
talking about it,
that
then
means
you
agree with
that
it.
you entertain that type of
That's why people
behavior.
stay in denial.
And people
Because
stay
if
in
you
denial of it.
denial, you're
Yeah.
not doing that tacit acceptance.
And you know, when I had talked to my family about it, I feel like they were in denial to the point where it was like, okay, I know I'm hurt, but deep down inside, I know that something good is gonna come out of this. And I think that's when I really sat down and did this art.
Really?
Yeah. Like I was coming out of this art really pulled me out of that phase.
I love that.
And
we
that's
always
where
talk about
Heal
the
Brown Girl
healing.
came from. Yeah.
And that's what I love so much. Like, to me, it just spoke to me so much. And so when I saw you were going to be doing the event at Melly, I was like, oh, great. I'm like, I'll get to see her. And you had kind of transformed yourself because I almost didn't even recognize you.
Yeah, it was like
a whole
Really?
new look.
Yeah.
Really? What was the look before? What are we?
I mean, it was great.
Serving?
She was
Yeah.
fantastic.
Okay.
But
Wait, are you
it
talking
was-
about physical look or
Yeah,
Or just in general,
both.
all of it.
Like,
Okay,
it was
yeah.
both, because there was, even back then, you still had a poise and confidence, but now it was even more. Like, if you were at a 6, now you're at an 8. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was already, I think you're on a trajectory for constant improvement, and it's very exciting to see. I will say, but that was, especially in your work. But but I think the artist is a reflection of that. Like, the artist grows, the work grows. Like, it just goes, and I don't know. Just because part of what I enjoy about art is learning about artists, like the artistic process. Like, what does that look like? How does that work? How do you not destroy yourself? So many people. We've watched so many artists of all different mediums, like, ultimately destroy themselves. Like, we think of like Basquiat. We're kind of watching it a little like lightweight with Kanye right now.
Yeah, definitely.
You know, we've seen so many great artists of our
The
time.
tortured artist is a trope.
Yeah,
Like,
it is,
a
but
lot of
it's
people are
like
familiar.
it's so ironic that a tool that's something that they're products we use for healing are destroying them. Because I would say, like, even Kanye, he's written at least some of his old stuff, like songs that are real. I remember Roses.
I was thinking about that today. I was thinking that, you know, his old album, like, I use that to heal myself. And I really related to it now that, you know, I don't listen to his new stuff because I'm scared. I'm scared that I will relate to his new stuff so much that I will feel what he's feeling. And I would think, and I would think so much about what is currently in his life right now, what he's doing, that I would feel that, and I just don't want that type of energy.
That's
you know?
interesting. That, like, you're like purposefully
avoiding it. And you know what's interesting? Because I've been avoiding his
guarding
stuff
the
too.
energy, though.
Exactly.
Well, just the
Guarding
idea
the
of
energy,
guarding
yeah.
the energy.
Like, I don't even want to, you know, I don't even
want to indulge.
I don't even want to indulge in that because it's scary. Like, because if you back then you were so great, but now, I mean, people are still saying that you're great, but we don't see that. We don't see that. I was looking on Twitter today and people were talking about somebody killed this man. Why are you saying that? And then I watched the video. I was like, okay, I see where they're coming from, but that was not necessary. But Kanye, that wasn't necessary either. Are you okay?
He's not. Though.
He's not.
He's not though. So it's really difficult to watch. But
Let's talk about. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I don't even know because you're thinking.
Let's talk about how people pull themselves out of mental health, and if it's for the better and for the worse. Where is a time that you have pulled yourself out of a traumatic experience that you had to take a step back and be like, dang, I pulled myself out of it for the better for myself, or I pulled myself out of this, but I'm not doing good right now?
I would say a lot of times when I've had a couple traumatic experiences, and a lot of times it wasn't necessarily me pulling myself out of it. A lot of times it's the people around me.
Okay.
Like we did what was it, How to Be Perfect, the book. It's like we were talking about I am because we are. A lot of times my experiences are very much the people around me, and thinking about like how when I wasn't able to see certain things, like the people who helped focus me. So Moni's definitely one of those people who was like, girl, like trauma time's over. We gotta go to the doctor. Trauma time's over. Like we gotta go to Mexico. Like all of these different things. And even like my kids, I feel like I don't recommend anyone do this, but I feel like especially having my son, that really helped me to snap out of some trauma where it's like, because I don't want him going through it. It's like I have to get out of this situation so that he doesn't also have to go through this, because he's getting old enough to see what's going on. So that's my answer. It really wasn't. It was never really me pulling it out. Because I really don't think. I think it's unfair for people to think they got to do it by themselves. Like, there's nothing wrong with asking for help. If a lot of times it feels like, oh, I'm being weak. I should be able to. The same thing like getting over the pandemic. I should be over it by now. There's no should anything. I think my aunt was saying, because she had a traumatic event not too long ago, not even a year ago, and she said she felt like she should be over it by now. And it's like, that's not. I do that all the time, girl.
I don't know why I keep wanting to dip it in the water.
Listen, you gotta watch it. Listen, for everyone who's listening, like the paintbrush almost went in the wine instead of the water.
That was the third time.
Yeah, but that's why it's good to use non-toxic paints, just in case. Just in case. But I was just saying, like, that would be my biggest thing. Is like, of course, you have to have tools and things put in place for self-care, but ultimately, it's really important. And I think we said that the other day. I don't know who we were talking to about how, like, that was on Speaker-ish. Shout out to Speaker-ish. Thank you for having us.
Shout out, ladies.
About how, like, it feels like Kanye doesn't have people around him who cares about him.
I know, that's really sad.
Yeah, and a lot of times that's what it takes. Like, sometimes you do need people around who keep it real with you and check you and be like, hey, I'm here to support you, but not on your bullshit.
Yeah, like, I mean, and that's the thing, like, I will shut up if you don't hear the truth, but, like, I don't have any incentive to be just telling you some bull. You know what I mean? I can only speak the objective truth that I see. So if you don't see it, I can't fault you for that. But also, let me say my piece, and you can do with it what you will.
Right, but don't act like I never told you.
But you're not gonna be able to say, well, why didn't you tell me? Because that's the thing people like to think. You like to think to yourself, like, well, if somebody would have just told me. Like, I want to invite to you that probably that's not true. I want to invite to you that you probably was still gonna be on that bullshit, because at some point you have to have that experience for yourself. Yeah. And we like to think about ourselves like, if somebody just warned me, it's like, no, probably not. Like, I could probably have said it to you and you still were gonna go about your way, because some lessons we just have to learn in front of our eyeballs, you know. So, and that's okay, you know what I mean? And if people really ride for you, they'll be there when you're done, you know, doing that bullshit right there. And they'll probably still be right with you. So, yeah, I think the bigger lesson is just like keep people around you who have and want the best for you. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. No matter what, wherever you find yourself. So.
Okay, well, since this is technically a book club, although be it a fake ass one, Hannah, what's your favorite book?
I really just started reading books a lot.
Let's go.
I think my favorite book right now, and the book that I am reading right now, is Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
All right.
And I think that book has really been life-changing. Like, I started it probably 2 weeks ago, and because I have picked up some of the stuff that I have been taking in from that book, that I have been thinking and growing rich.
I think that it is a state of mind, like poverty, wealth. If
you think negative, then negative will attract you.
Yeah.
But if you think positive and you have a positive outlook and perspective on things, that is what's going to come to you, because you're unconsciously chasing towards that. You know?
That's true.
I think that's very real. I always tell people, like, you're already rich. So many times people are like, when I'm rich, or like, if I'm rich, I hear my kids say that all the time, like, if we were rich, and it's like, you are rich. In this moment right now, you're rich. What do you want to do?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because even when people who we would view as rich, a lot of times they don't feel rich because they know people who are richer. So they feel like those people are rich. Right. And for us, there are people who look at us and say we're rich. I mean, we are kind of sitting around drinking wine and painting. It's pretty decadent.
Yeah. It's a mindset.
I think actually, it's a mindset. Like, what food could I want right now that I can't get?
Yeah, that's true.
I want some steak.
What?
She said she wants some steak.
I mean, we could get some steak right now.
Like,
have it delivered right to the door.
Okay.
Like, you know, or go somewhere and go get it. You know what I mean? Like, there's so many
But some people don't have that. You know?
Right. That's what I'm saying. That's why we're rich. I'm just making the point we're rich.
Right.
Rich bitches.
But it's that idea of, because I remember talking to someone and they were like, yeah, when I'm rich, I'm like, but when will that be? Like, what would it take to feel rich?
Yeah, what does that mean?
I think that rich is a mindset. Rich is how you think. I think rich starts with mental health.
Well, there's no, that's the only wealth you have in this life, really.
Exactly.
Because you think of someone like Kanye, how much money is he worth? Like, would you trade places with him right now?
No, I would not.
Yeah.
I would not. That would be the last.
I think Paul Mooney said that. He was like that, because he was like, that rich white man would give everything he has for your health and your peace of mind.
True that.
Wow.
Well, and I will say, like, you know, you can be healthy and happy,
but you're not mentally there all the way.
So it can go both ways. Like you can have your health, but not look at it as something that makes you rich until you don't have it. Right. Yeah, and so like sometimes it's just a switch of perspective. I think, as far as like what you consider rich, and I think maybe we need to reshift our consciousness maybe more toward fulfillment. Like what actually makes you feel happy, because at the end of the day you can have $1 million and still be miserable, because we've seen it. We know there's plenty of people out there, because again there's just never a space where you feel like it's enough. Right. It's always something else. There's always a next. There's always a next. And so like I think the trick is just finding fulfillment no matter where you find yourself. You know what I mean? Because like even if I don't have a million actual dollars, do I value the people in my life? Do I make the best of every situation? Do I add value? Do they add value to me?
Do I like myself?
Do I like
to me? I never understood that. Like there's so many people who do not like themselves, and like I'm like that seems crazy to me. I like myself so much.
Yeah,
I can tell. Like I can tell by you too.
It's like I am so great. Hello.
The greatest person in the world.
Not everything I like is great. Let's keep that book,
teasing,
okay?
yeah,
I like a lot
sure.
of trash stuff. So just because I like myself doesn't mean I'm great. Because I have liked myself when I wasn't great. But like, I would like to strive to continue to improve. Like I never want to stagnate or anything like that. So
I like that.
Yeah. But I feel bad. Like you might as well like yourself. You're stuck with you.
Yo, and you can't be, I mean, like, if you're trying to be somebody else, nice try. It's already been
with
filled.
Your fake ass.
You're going to be, like, they're already, it's like you're never going to get to that. So I think there is just a point where you come to where you have to recognize, like, this is as good as it's getting. I might as well, like, this is what I'm serving.
So
and either you're going to get with it or not.
About settling?
In what terms?
What is that?
So explain to me. I think I need more information.
So settling is when deep down inside you know that you are worth so much more, but you're settling for your current state.
Oh man, I've done that a lot.
I think it's
But is it a thing?
It's a fear of losing what you have.
It's a fear of losing that security.
Mm-hmm.
It's a fear of losing that security, and I feel like right now I'm at a point where I don't care about security. I care.
It's an illusion a little
It's
bit.
an illusion.
Yeah.
It's like I care about my happiness.
Absolutely.
And I feel like my happiness and my mental health is the most important thing to me, because if I have that mental wealth, financial security will come.
Yeah, and listen, you are unattached. Okay. You are just you, and I'm saying to anybody out here who has this luxury of only having to consider themselves, like that's the gift about being single. That's the gift about being, saying like single and only having to really consider what it is you want for yourself. Mm-hmm. Like give it some real thought though, while you can, because again, like you don't get to have these highly elevated thoughts when you have to make sure that somebody else is fed and taken care of. You know what I mean?
And
like
quite honestly, I'm a lot to manage.
I am too.
Like,
I am a high maintenance woman.
Just me? Oh my goodness,
very
it's
high
so
maintenance.
much work.
And I didn't realize that until I got in a relationship. And I was because I was like,
I'm so easy out here right now. This is easy. Because you know you, so.
Yeah, I feel like I'm just, not everything has to be perfect, but everything has to be peaceful. Okay. Everything has to be peaceful. If it's not peaceful, I need to change it. Okay. And I'm so high maintenance to the point where it's like, if I, any split second where I'm not peaceful, I feel like, okay, well, it needs maintenance. It needs maintenance. It needs to be catered to in any form of anything. In any aspect, I feel like I am high maintenance in a way that it's hard to find people that relate to me.
Really?
Yeah, on an intimate level, because some people, being a very I'm not trying to toot my own horn.
No,
But toot. But being a very beautiful woman in this society nowadays at my age is hard. I'm not gonna lie. People think that because I'm pretty that I have it easy, but no, it's not easy.
Girl,
because
hurts.
It does hurt. It really does. Because
And,
you don't
yeah.
know. You don't know whether stuff is genuine or not.
Well, because I think I said earlier, you kind of lit up when you felt like you were just kind of being cast in a role.
Yeah.
Because sometimes I feel like in a lot of times in my life, men have just kind of liked my look.
Right.
And then they're like, you look good in the role of my woman.
Right.
So I'm going to cast you in that role and change you to fit that mold. So like a lot of times they like the free-spiritedness, the outspokenness at first.
But they want you to be.
And then at a certain
catered to
point, they
them.
want you to kind of get in line a little bit.
Yeah, and it's like, why are you trying to change me?
I thought you liked me.
I thought you liked
That's
me.
what
I'm
it is.
not.
Like
yeah.
now you're all surprised. Like I'm not changing because I'm in this relationship. It's like no, I'm still me.
Right.
Like I mean, of course, things you do have to. Because this was what I think we're talking about this on Drunken Nights. On is what is it? What is the word? I can't think of. It's not condolences. What is the word? Like not concessions.
What are you thinking of?
Like in a relationship, you have to
Compromise?
Compromise. Ooh. What do you think about what is the difference between
Wait.
to make fun of me over
No.
this.
It's well, that's true. I don't have to,
I don't
but
think
I
you
am.
should ever I don't think it should be compromising. I think it should be sacrificing.
Oh,
She's hogging the one. Sorry, guys.
I think it's between compromising and sacrificing. If I have to belittle myself and compromise with you, then I know this isn't for me. But if I feel like I have to make sacrifices for the better of me and you, then I'm okay with that.
that's a compromise though, because then
That
we're
is a
both doing
compromise.
it.
Sacrifice.
Well, because
Compromising is a one-sided thing.
no,
though.
it's not. 'Cause it's got co in it. Co. It's
both.
compromise.
Okay.
It's both.
Yeah.
Both
Okay.
have to.
Gotta get
Because
your
it's like
Latin
I'm
words.
sacrificing this and you sacrifice that. Like, because if you're the only one,
Because
who's-
sacrifice means I'm the only
If
one.
I'm the
giving
only one
something.
sacrificing, that means
Yes.
Okay.
You know what I mean? But at least to me, like that, I feel like realistically in relationships, any relationship really, you have to compromise a little. It's not like we can just do whatever I want to all the time. Like even if we're going somewhere for dinner, like if I'm like, hey Moni, you want to get something to eat? Sure. It's like, okay, I want to go here. And you're like, oh, I just had them. It's like, I don't care. I don't compromise. It's like, no. Like who does that?
I mean, because you gotta pick your battles. I think there's just I think that there's certain things that you shouldn't be asked to compromise. Like when it comes to who I am as a person, I'm not gonna ever. I'm not gonna stop being who I am. And when I have to stop doing that to be around you, I'm not doing that. But when it comes to superficial stuff about, you know what I'm saying, my likes and wants, I can put that away in order to accommodate what you like and want sometime, as long as you're willing to do the same. So there has to be reciprocity there. Like, I'm not about to be the only one always taking the L. So, like, as long as we can pass the L back and forth, you know what I mean? Like, nobody's going to be 100% satisfied. I'm not even going to be 100% satisfied with my own damn self. Because I get on my nerves. You know what I'm saying?
so
Like, I'm going to get
much.
on my own nerves. I'm not going to be meeting all the
mess
benchmarks
up.
of where I'd like to be every single time either. So, and that's okay. You know what I mean? Like, so I don't expect somebody else to. But I just think that, like, when you're in a space where you feel like you shouldn't ever have to, you know, be uncomfortable for somebody, like, no. Like, that's, I mean, I don't want to say that's what love is, because that sounds crazy, but it is a lot about, like, sometimes you find yourself in spaces that you're like, wow, this is not my wheelhouse, but I better get comfortable, because I notice that this is something that I have to learn to do, or this is something that I have to get comfortable with. And you have to be willing to do that for somebody else sometimes. And again, don't do that when somebody's not willing to do that for you. That would be you're playing yourself.
Because I
That's been
feel
a
like
theme
that's
of my
what I've
weekend.
done
You're
in the
playing
past.
yourself.
I feel like they would
Yeah.
probably. I'm sure my partners would say differently, but I feel like I've done that in the past where I've just been like,
Yeah, and who's really happy at the end of the day? Like, even you're saying, like, you're not even with these niggas no more, and you felt like you gave a part of yourself up to be with them, and it's like, well, where did that get you?
right.
And so that's why I encourage you to, like,
Big
you
old
can't
divorce.
let go of yourself.
Okay.
Yeah, like, you can't let go of who you
how
are.
do you know when you're ready to marry someone? How long have you been married? First question.
Yo, 16 years.
16 years?
Yeah.
That's beautiful. How long have you been married in your marriages?
So in my marriages, my first marriage was like a year. It was a starter marriage. It didn't even count.
It's
I didn't
like
even
training
take my
wheels.
But my second marriage, we were married for 5 years, but we were together for 10.
Okay. So how do you know when you're ready for marriage?
Oh, I apparently wasn't. We're divorced.
How about you, Moni?
Well, on top of just, like this was somebody I met in high school, so it
high
was
school
one of,
sweetheart.
yes, it was definitely high school sweethearts. And, I knew I felt deeply for this person, but also too, I recognized so I met you in high school. Like, is that a real thing that people like stay together this long? And so.
You ever heard of, well, I'm sure you have, Donnell, Where I Want to Be?
Mm-hmm. Yes, that's a good one. That's a nice.
When I think
you took us back to is that from the 1900s?
That's a nice
Yeah.
or early
Yes.
2000s.
That is definitely, yeah. That was like the soundtrack to our relationship for like a nice little second. But I do think that when you don't have those experiences outside, I know.
But
yeah,
when he said that, what did he say?
it took me some time. He gotta love
He had to actually take that time.
You just don't treat them bad. Oh, how I feel so
But
sad.
he was very mindful that, okay, we've been together since high school, but I need some time away from you to figure out if you are what I want or if it's something else out here that I want.
Yeah.
It's so funny because when y'all took time, did you take? I remember you and Kim K on Drunken Nights were talking about this because he's another one too where he's been married like 22 years.
Yeah.
And he was saying it's so weird when you have that time apart because you are trying to see this is crazy. We've been together so long. This can't be. We got to take some time apart.
Yeah, but it was important for me too because I did feel
watching it because I was like, hey, getting back together.
Yeah, because we would always be. It would be like I thought y'all was broke up. It's like yeah, but we're still friends. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And it was one of those things where. So somebody can be, say you have in your mind this person has to check off all these boxes and you meet the person who checks off all these boxes, but then it still feels like,
I don't like spending time with you.
Yeah, it's like you're too self-important. I felt like I ran into that a lot. Because you felt like you had these things, I was supposed to be giving you more reverence than I was, and I'm like, well, I don't give a fuck about none of that. Yeah, I don't care about that actually. You know what I'm saying? So. What I ended up realizing was, there was two things. One was if this person never changes from who they are, for one, I wouldn't change them, but I also accept them, and I feel like they accept me. I don't have to do a lot of percolating or changing to be.
Percolating.
Yeah, I don't have to. I'm not transforming into. I don't have to transform into something else to be.
Acceptable.
To be acceptable to you. I can just show up how I am, and I recognized how important that was more so than, this person has this degree or this person has this thing. I think being seen for who you are authentically is probably the most important thing. Mm-hmm. And, somebody who will be uncomfortable for you. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes, not every time, because nobody wants to have to be uncomfortable all the time.
Sometimes you have to be uncomfortable to really realize.
I think so. I mean, at least willing to.
That's the compromise part.
That is the compromise part.
Yeah. Part.
I'm not saying I'm gonna try to make it to be the thing that you're always feeling, but I definitely feel like I got to a point where I recognized what I was really looking for wasn't a resume. You know what I'm saying? It was a certain sort of authentic interaction, and I wasn't able to recreate that with anybody else. Some of that might have just been because of our familiarity with each other and growing up together and all that.
Y'all just have that bond.
That's
about
my guy.
covalent bonds, right?
Yeah,
sometimes there's just something that draws you, and it's I can't.
It's weird. I can't even put my finger on it because it gets on my nerves. You know what I'm saying? He literally gets on my nerves, but I love him so hard.
He is this person. And it's weird.
Those shoes that are it's man, these you keep putting them on. You buy the new shoes, but it's I'm not even wearing those.
Nope.
You know what I mean? I keep going back to this because it feels how it's supposed to
So
be.
how I know that you're talking about I know that you're talking about all these trials and tribulations that you have went through with your relationship.
Sure.
So, how do you know that person is meant for you?
That's so funny. Nobody knows that.
But I don't
she
want to get
couldn't
too
not
personal.
be with him. Like, that was what it was. Just from on the outside looking in, she could just not. To me, it was so. I never said anything at the time.
It's like, you guys are
I'm
playing
like, 'cause
yourselves.
she's telling me like, okay, we're taking a break. I'm like, okay, cool. That's what you gotta do. I'm like, y'all getting back. I didn't say this, but in
you
my
knew.
mind, I'm like, y'all are each other's. What was that? friends.
It's
You're just
like,
each
you're my
other's
person.
lobsters.
Lobsters.
Like, it's so obvious. Like, it just is.
I guess, yeah.
How
Like,
did
it's
you find
undeniable.
your way back though? And how long did it take for you to find your way back?
God, it's been 100 years now, so I don't
Like
remember
3 weeks.
exactly.
No, 3 weeks?
She's like, come
It was
on, like,
super.
What was
She's
the longest
older
time
than me.
away from you two? Because I'm not gonna lie, I have this experience with this guy that from the moment that I seen him, it was like, oh my God. You know, like when you just have that
I didn't
feeling.
feel like that about him when I first saw
Really?
him. No.
I've had that feeling
He
about
was cute
him.
or whatever, but I mean, I didn't feel like kind of
Or whatever.
Yeah.
But I've had that feeling about him, and like from the first time I seen him, I didn't even have a conversation with him, but I could tell that it was mutual because from that day forward, I didn't speak to him, but from that day, the next day we ended up hanging out, and I remember like it was just a connection. But I just feel like we're both scared to pursue that connection. And I'm trying to figure out, like, should I even try again? I've been through all of these other relationships and meeting all these other people, and then at the end of the day, all I think about is him. So I'm asking advice, like, what is it that I should do? Nice.
Well, I would say, I think I like your approach initially with you being like, just open to the experience and not having any expectations. I think that's where we get fucked up. I think when we come into it expecting it to be something, like if he's somebody that you like and you want to get to know, let it just be that. You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't need to put anything on it because sometimes the timing, like, that was the thing too. Like, with me and my husband, the timing is everything. Like, sometimes you have to have some lived experiences. Sometimes you have to do certain things. And you have to give yourself space to do those things. And it might not be the time for y'all to be in an intimate relationship or for you guys to be in an involved situation, but maybe it's just y'all getting to know each other as friends. And who knows where that can go, planting those seeds basically. So I kind of feel like, if he's somebody you're genuinely interested in as a person, why not just approach it from that standpoint? Like, I'm just trying to get to know you from who you are.
And
you know
I
what I'm saying?
think that it's been like 3-4 years.
Yeah.
3-4 years.
Listen, I'm gonna tell you right now. That
And
might
the
even
connection
be
gets
better.
stronger every time that we come together. But I've been platonically, friends with him. Like, I've been friends with him for the past 2 years, and it's like
It's beautiful.
you're not
have that
yes,
anyway.
yeah.
In a relationship, like, I think about what keeps us together. I hate to make, like, that's the thing too. Like, I don't want to make it seem like because I've been with somebody for a long time, I've got the answers about relationships, and I largely don't want my podcast to be me giving people relationship necessarily advice or anything, but I can say with assurance that, like, a lot of it is, for one, you have to like and respect that person outside of, like, a romantic context.
Definitely.
Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I have to look at you and be like, you're somebody, even if I wasn't romantically involved with you, I'd be intrigued or interested in some kind of way. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Or, whether it's humor, whether it's your intellect, whether it's, how your bond to your family and how you take care of your family or whatever it is that attracts you to that person, just as a human person, which is why I still stand on having platonic relationships are so important. And even if they turn into something else at some point, like, having that base with somebody should be the focal point of the relationship. Because there's going to be plenty of times in a long-term relationship where, like, that romantic thing isn't the centerpiece of your relationship.
Right.
It might be your kids. It might be your mom is sick. It might be we're pursuing businesses. We might be, who knows what it is. But I just feel like a lot of the time, you know, that romantic kind of love that we think about when we, those chemical reactions that happen that get you.
Chemical con job.
The chemical con job that is love, as we talked about before, you know what I mean? Yeah, like that's not sustainable. Like that's not real life. That's not, you know, something, that's not a space that you get to stay in. And that's something you have to actually cultivate and work toward keeping in your relationship. But you also have to have other stuff, you know, too. You know what I'm saying? Like, when you're sad, is he somebody who can comfort you? Does he know when you walk in that you need a couple minutes before he starts talking to you about whatever? You know, when, you know, like, it's really just knowing that person. And sometimes I think when you take that romantic part out and you just get to know that person, it makes it easier. You know what I mean? It makes it easier to
because you're not expecting.
Because there's no expectation in that. You're just letting somebody be. And I think that's just it. You have to be in a space where you're able to let that person be, and you're not expecting them to necessarily only be the role that you expect them to perform for you as a boyfriend, as a.
And it's also obvious too that this person wants the best for you.
That
like
part.
Genuinely wants
That
you
part.
to like express yourself fully and wants to see the best for you.
Yeah.
Okay, I want to take a moment to like show YouTube our paintings so far because I love it. I feel like you've been very influenced by the space. Like this feels like the vibes of this, so I love this.
Because it's
This
different.
is my little like peaceful self that I made. That's so cute.
This is me. It means a lot. I think that at first when I started painting, I was just doing whatever. Like I was just freeing myself, and then I did this face and I put "finally free" on it, and then I flipped it around and then I put PIMP because I'm a pimp. And peace is my priority.
That's right.
Cool. That's a good kind of pimping.
Yes. I'm pimping right now. And I also did around this mouth, in the background of the mouth, I put a flower around it, and I also have the word "speak" across from it, and it's like speak beautifulness and speak light and speak healing. So yeah.
Love it.
Yeah.
Wow. So I have swirls of colors.
That is clearly a rose.
I like that.
Is it a rose?
It is definitely a rose. I like that.
Okay, I guess it's a flower.
It's like
I
a
don't know.
rose portal.
Yeah, it just has my name on it, but I like cool colors.
Here, I'm gonna make sure we have a shout out because I'm probably gonna have to
Yeah.
to that. So like, this is what the podcast produced. This is the art.
Nice.
Look at us go.
I would love to be able to offer, like, do something like with our followers and our you know, even our patrons. Like, this might be something that we can, if you guys are interested, you know, we are launching our Patreon October the 30th, which is basically a paid subscription. You guys, you get bonus content and you get exclusive access to us. So, you know,
and
whether
it'll make our podcast sound better.
It
We'll
will
use the money you give us to make it sound better.
upgrade. Well, you know, there's lots of things we can do to upgrade the audio and visual experience for our podcast, but also it helps us be able to host events. If that's something you guys would be interested in, be a part of live streams. So like this episode, for instance, maybe you have, you know, we could have done something like this privately with our patrons and had a whole conversation going and have your canvases. Yeah, get your wine, get your canvas. Let's get together and vibe. So we want to encourage you guys to check in with us and do that because that's going to be super dope. This has been really, really fun. I have really enjoyed this sort of artistic exploration. And honestly, there was no real rhyme or reason. Like, this was just us sort of connecting with our guests. Yeah, and just painting.
Successful one.
I think so too, ladies. This is super nice. I feel like, you know, I would love to do something like this again. And I feel like we should take a quick break and then maybe come back real quick and then we can wrap this shit up, yo. Yeah. All right, guys, be right back. Okay, all right, guys. Welcome back from the break. I mean, this was a super dope episode. This was something new for us. We just want to thank you, Hannah, for being here. This was so dope.
Your energy is super.
Wonderful. It is.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I can say the same for both of you, honestly.
This was really fun. I love the opportunity to just sit and like paint, because this is not something that I make time for in my life. Like, understand. So I am super grateful to have this moment to share with you and create art and hopefully inspire people to take part in the stuff that makes them feel good. I mean, whether it's painting, singing, writing, you know, doing poetry, reading a book, whatever it is, you guys, please tap in.
Do it.
Check in with yourself, and, you know, be nice and create. I mean, being in a creative space, honestly, I think can be healing. So I want to thank you for sharing your art with us. It was super cool meeting you. I want to give you an opportunity to shout yourself out on social media so all of our followers know where they can find your art, where they check in with you to see what it is you have going on. So you have the floor.
Y'all, my Instagram is makeit.rhane. Rhane is spelled R-H-A-N-E. That is my personal Instagram. And then my business page is my art page. It is Rhane, again, R-H-A-N-E .creations. Again, Rhane, R-H-A-N-E-S .creations. And I am also on Twitter, but I only have a personal page, which is makeit_Rhane.
Let's go. Make it rain, y'all.
Make
You know
it
what I'm saying?
rain.
Visit her page. Check out her art. Super dope. She's super beautiful. I hope you guys are watching us on YouTube, because she is an actual...
You're in for a treat.
Yes. Okay. We're going to take some pictures, and I'm going to make sure I post these, because the legs, the face there, it's giving God dust on my cheeks, and you know what I'm saying? It's giving I have wings under this jacket at this point. So, yeah, we definitely want to thank you for coming out. And
Thank
I mean,
you for
you
having
don't
me.
know us, like we just met you at the, I mean, I know Kat met you before, but I think this is why, to me, podcasting is super dope, because I have met some of the nicest, most talented people doing this podcast so far. So good luck to you and with your art and stuff, and hopefully we can check in with you, collaborate moving forward. Maybe we can do like a
I definitely.
Patreon event
If
where
you
we
do
come
this-
and do
if
this.
you
If
do
you
an
guys
event
like
here, I'm
this.
definitely coming.
I am
Yes.
looking forward to doing this, because it's like very much a liberating
Yes.
space. Like,
It's very much, yeah, very colorful.
I'm thinking about what I can
I
do
have to
with
show you
it
the
though.
piece I made here, because I needed the room. Actually, where we're podcasting right now, this is where I painted. Like, it was so big, I had to put it on the floor. It was like a huge
Really?
canvas. So
Okay.
yeah,
Very
I'll
nice.
show it to you later.
Yeah,
Definitely.
man. So this was super cool. So I think, well, there's nothing to really rate. I mean, like, our art is obviously
All 10,
popping. You know
10s
what I'm saying?
across
10,
the
10,
board.
10, 10, 10. And we're going to spin the wheel, you guys, so we can let you know what we're going to talk about next week. So spin it! Okay, let's go.
Okay, so we announced it before. We're gonna really do it this time, guys. Aftermath by
We're gonna try. We're
LeVar
gonna try.
Burton, a show favorite. You know him as Kunta Kinte,
Yes.
Lieutenant Geordie LaForge, and he is also a published author. He wrote a book back in the 1900s called Aftermath.
Was it in the 1900s?
It was 1997.
Shut up.
No, I will not.
Okay. That's fine. I won't
I
silence you,
remember
friend.
because that was the year I graduated from high school.
Wow, we are aging ourselves.
We
friend.
are, but yeah,
That's what's
he wrote a book, and we're gonna talk about it.
Yeah, man, and reading Rainbow, like, you can't forget
Yeah,
to
oh, I'm sorry.
take a look. It's
Which
the
was an
notebook
inspiration for this
of Reading
podcast.
Rainbow.
Because it's like, don't take our word for it. You can crack a
Bam.
book, see it for yourself.
Straight up, man.
Take out a paintbrush, paint for yourself, and see how it feels. There's artist is not a legally protected term. You can call yourself an artist, do whatever you want. It can look however you want. Do whatever you want. You can do what you want to do and live in color.
Shut up, first of all. So listen. For our 1900s friends, y'all know what we're talking about. Yeah. Oh my God, this was fun, you guys.
It really
really
was. I don't want it to
was.
end, but
I know,
I'm
we're
sad.
just like,
I'm sad. But it
thank
was a
you,
very
God.
beautiful experience.
That's
Just
why we
sitting
have
here
to
and
do
getting
it
to know.
again.
Yeah, sitting here
Definitely.
and getting to know you ladies. Like, I knew from the jump that I would have a deep connection with you, but like actually sitting here and just talking about so much and just creating something that I'm very passionate about, art. And it was just very beautiful experience.
Thank you for
Thank you for
sharing the time with
coming.
us. 'Cause that's really all we
Absolutely.
have. So that
Time
means it's very
is
precious. So
all
thank you so much.
we have. I second that, friend. And so with that, you guys, we're going to leave it right here. Hopefully you come back and join us next week. Thank you so much.
Your body
for tuning
belongs to
in.
you.
It does. It's very, very true. It does. And have some fun with it, as Kat likes to say. So pop that coochie this weekend, guys. Bye.
Before we go, we must give thanks to Urban Nerd for providing our music, and legal services were handled by Trezanae M. Atkins. If you like what you heard, please feel free to join us every Wednesday for another fake-ass book club. Cheers.
Thank you guys for listening. You can check us out at thefabpodcast.com. Please subscribe, rate, and review our podcast wherever you're listening right now. We want to hear from you. Come put it in our life. Thanks again, and until next time, peace, love, and the Fake Ass Book Club. We out.